welcome back to our coaching network. Again, I am Pat Curran here. It's almost football season. This is crazy. This is our last week of doing some clinics. For high school guys start pretty soon here. College guys start within the next couple of weeks, and we're off and rolling. So super excited to have Coach on here tonight, talking a little coverage variations in a 3-3-5 defense. Coach, feel free to take it from here. Excited to hear from you tonight.
Appreciate it, Coach. First off, man, just I want to tell you, appreciate the time, Pat. Appreciate the platform, just getting on here, talking to you guys. My name's Kamau Dumas. They call me Coach KD. Coach in the secondary, primarily working with the corners here at the University of Central Oklahoma. So really excited about the topic tonight. Just jumping into my journey a little bit. So I started off at my high school back in New Jersey. I'm from Morristown, New Jersey. I started off coaching football and track there. From there, I went to McPherson College. That was my first college coaching job. It's an NAIA school out in Kansas. I was working under Coach Fiskus, and Evan Knight was the defensive coordinator there at the time. From there, I went to Gannon University, Division II school up in the PSAC conference up in Pennsylvania. I was working under Coach Brian Nardo, who actually introduced me to the 3-3-5 defense. He's currently the DC at Oklahoma State now. We had a really successful year there, man. It was a great time, met some great coaches, and the story actually will come full circle with why I came here to UCO. From there, in 2022, in the winter, I went to Wagner College up in New York, a small FCS school. I worked under Coach Tom Masella, who was the head coach and the defense coordinator there. And then from Wagner, I ended up here at UCO. So the defensive coordinator here at UCO, Cody Swanson, was actually the D-line coach at Gannon, and he played at Emporia State under Coach Nardo. And our co-DC, Coach Thomas Pearson, he was also at Gannon too. So I'm kind of reunited with those guys that I met up there in Pennsylvania. A little bit about my playing journey. Again, I'm from New Jersey. I played at a FCS school in New Jersey, Monmouth University. There I played corner, played a little bit of nickel as well. And from there, I was blessed with an opportunity to try out for the New York Giants. Didn't make the team, but it was just such an amazing experience. And that experience for me has still been beneficial right now in my coaching career. From there, I played in the Arena League for a little bit with the Baltimore Brigade of the AFL and then the Iowa Barnstormers of the IFL. And the quote at the bottom, it says, "You have to be a soldier before you can be a general." So this is something that I believe in. It doesn't hold true for everybody. But for me, being able to play the position is something that really helps me out now and relating to my players. I know what it's like to make plays in front of thousands. I know what it's like to get beat in front of thousands, the highs and the lows. I know how to talk to the players when they're getting attacked a certain way by an offense or a wide receiver. So I think it's just been able to help me bridge that gap between myself and the players. So, just first talking about fundamentals of defensive back play, right? Everybody, has their own ideas and philosophies. This is what I believe in playing the defensive back position. Every play, you have to know the situation, right? You can't go out there on 3rd and 3 and play the same way that you would play in 1st and 10, right? You need to know the situation. What's the given coverage, right? The given coverage is going to come from the support calls that you get. For us, and a lot of places, the safeties on the defense give the support calls. We talk about tactical and technical positions. A tactical position is where you help get other people lined up. A technical position is you're receiving your assignment from someone else, and it's up to you to execute. So our support calls, right? The key and the technique. What are we looking at, and how am I going to play this properly that I can execute? And we'll talk about that a little bit in our progression, which is the last one here. What gets us beat? It's very important to know how you can lose reps at the defensive back position. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I always tell guys, you got to win a lot more than you lose. You look at some of the top DBs in the game now at the professional level, those guys have lost, right? They've lost reps, but they've won a whole lot more than they've lost. So just again, putting that pressure on our guys, and you'll kind of learn a little bit about my coaching style. But eyes, feet, and leverage are the main things that we talk about in terms of not getting beat. So, just going back to the basics here. We're teachers. I think it's very important to never assume that anybody knows something. Never assume a player knows something. Could I teach this to an elementary school child? So for me, I start off with pass zones. You get freshmen that just come in, transfers, even the older guys, it's good to refresh it. So we talk about pass zones. Well, this is what I mean when I talk about you're playing an outside third, or here's a strong hook, right? What is a curl? What is a curl flat? Giving these guys the actual pass zone so they understand, all right, when we get later down the line, when talking about our dividers, this is how I can best defend my area of the field or my zone. Next here is just the route tree. Again, what routes are going to be ran from the offense? Having an understanding of what a quick game or a three-step route is and how they could turn into double moves, right? Knowing what five-step routes are going to come, play action pass, so forth and so on, sprint out, boot, all those things are very important. And again, you can't ever assume that a player knows, right? We have to try to put them in the best position to succeed. So understanding what routes are going to come, what routes are on the route tree. The next portion here is our divider rules. So this is so important to me and my philosophy of putting yourself in position to succeed. Right? You don't always want to align inside leverage or outside leverage per se. When do I need to align this way? Right? When should I be inside? When should I be outside? So for corners, for safeties, it's very important to understand our divider rules. This right here is a blueprint for corners. I use the term bottom 5 and 1. I heard that some time back with a clinic with Coach Saban, and it stuck with me. It makes sense to me. Some people teach it a different way, but if the ball's on the near hash, a normal split for a wide receiver is the bottom of the numbers. If the ball's on the opposite hash and you're the field corner per se, the normal split for that receiver is 5 yards inside the numbers. And if the ball's in the middle of the field, the divider is 1 yard inside the top of the numbers. So as long as a receiver has a normal split, I'm always inside leverage. Okay. And I usually talk about being a man's length inside, which I'll show a little bit later in some demonstrations. But anytime a receiver is further inside of his normal split, what we call a condensed split or a cut split, now I can change my leverage to be on the outside shoulder of that receiver, anticipating a potential outbreaking route, or more importantly, helping align myself for success, knowing that I have help, especially with us. And, a 3-3-5 defense, you have 5 DBs on the field. If we go a nickel package, we've got 6 DBs. So for us, it's something that I really love. I've been in a 4-3 system, a 3-4 system. For me, I think having a 3-3-5 system allows you to be a lot more multiple in the back end and what you can do. For safeties, we talk about their dividers as well. A normal split if the ball's in the middle of the field. For our safeties, we talk about the receiver will align anywhere from on the hash to 2 yards outside the hash. So you could be inside or outside depending on the coverage that we're in. If we're in the middle of the field, open coverage. If we're in the middle of the field, closed coverage. Those things will dictate how we play our leverage. So in terms of a teach progression, for me, this is something that I kind of adopted as a player. I had 3 position coaches at Monmouth. All of them were great coaches. Coach Scott Lakatos, who he coached for some years, Marvin Clessador, Lewis Walker, those guys. I was able to kind of take a little bit from each of them and adopt it into my game. And some of the things I learned have still held true for me now being a coach. So in terms of my teach progression, right? Stance, everything starts with your stance, right? We'll kind of elaborate on a stance a few times, and then it's an expectation for our guys after that to align properly, right? I want to have my inside foot up. Do I want to have my outside foot up? What's the down and distance? Am I in the red zone? Those things will determine our stance, whether we're off, whether we're press, whether we're playing catch man. And then alignment key responsibility, AKR. And I have the first letter of each of those highlighted because if I can answer the question in my head, what's my alignment, what's my key and my responsibility, every play, that'll allow me to not make a mental error, not make a mental mistake. So to even be productive, right? We have a production chart with our guys. It's hard to be productive, but one thing that'll always kill production is MAs and lack of effort. So we're trying to avoid having a negative in our production prior to the play starting. So my alignment, my key, as in what am I looking at, where are my eyes, my responsibility, which is my job, and then finish is the most important part. You can do those three right, but if you don't finish, we didn't win the rep. We play a high risk, high reward position. So we really try to emphasize finishing the play for our guys, finish in practice, finish with maximum effort in competing. So in terms of just development, there's really three areas that I focus on in terms of our individual drills. They'll be centered around our agilities, which are everyday drills, footwork, transitions, things of that nature, contact drills, which is tackling and block destruction for the most part, a little bit of press coverage, right, if we're working disrupting timing, and then ball drills. We hear the term, receivers that can't catch or DBs. Well, not on my watch. I don't want guys that can't catch the ball. And more importantly, we need to practice catching the ball. So when we get the opportunities, we can make the play and create the takeaway. And throughout all these drills, there's a heavy, heavy emphasis on our eyes, our feet, and our pad level. Those are things that I really believe in and I harp on, which you'll see in our indie. And then the ball, of course, taking away the ball. A really good DB could stop the ball from being completed. He'll show up in the run game, which our DBs are going to be heavily involved in the run fit. We have to stop the run first above all things, but practice taking the ball away. So getting into some of the agilities, this first agility drill right here is what I call a drive to go. So here's a clip from Wagner this past season. We've got three guys up right now. They're all inside leverage and they're keying the leverage hip. So right now they're keying the hip that's closest to them. All right, they're keying the hip that's closest to him. That hip is where our eyes need to be locked on the entire time after we've cleared quick game from the quarterback. So we're simulating the DBs right now, clearing quick game from the quarterback, and the receivers are breaking at the bottom of the numbers. So the reason I use the bottom of the numbers so often in terms of drill work is because it's 9 yards from the sideline. Most routes break from 8 to 12 yards. So if we can practice and create the muscle memory to be able to break at 5-step breaking points where the receiver is going to break, then that allows us to be in position to compete on the play. So right now, every DB is driving to the upfield shoulder of the receiver here. We have to take the proper angles, right? Drive to the upfield shoulder so you can secure the tackle, and then you can make a play on the ball. And they're clubbing violently through the upfield arm. All right. They'll reset right there on the line, and now they're fighting to cut the receiver off. All right. The wide receiver in this picture is pushing off of the DB. Okay. Guys complain all the time. Well, coach, he's offensive PI. You're not going to get that call. And we're not asking the ref to give us that call. So as the receiver tries to push off of us, we're clubbing down violently, clubbing his arm down, not up, but down. And we're going to try and cut him off with our inside shoulder. All right. We want to break the stride of the wide receiver. I don't really teach lean and locate because I found that when you're leaning and looking back, trying to locate the football, if the ball is not thrown where you're anticipating it being caught by the receiver and that receiver adjusts back to the ball, a lot of times the DBs fall off of the receiver because their weight and momentum is so heavily prevalent on the body of that guy. So we just really try to cut that receiver off, and cutting him off is getting my inside shoulder over, or my shoulder closest to him over his inside shoulder so I can break his stride. So this is just a way of maximizing the drill here. We're getting a drive to the upfield shoulder here, hook through, reset, and now we're downfield right now, fighting and competing with that receiver. All right, here's a look at it right here. One of our corners playing off man. He's doing a good job of staying low right here, and that's kind of going to be something that I really harp on all the time. So I talk about something called the 15-yard low zone. Okay. What the 15-yard low zone is from the line of scrimmage up until 15 yards, we need to have our shoulders down and our knees bent. right? Our shoulders need to be down and our knees need to be bent, because within 15 yards, a wide receiver is still going to break, right? Now, if you get too high, you can never come back downhill to break on a route, right? I tell guys all the time, I was a big track guy. I love track to this day. Does a 100-meter starter start up or does he start down and low? So you can't tell me I can't transition open and get to full speed from being low. But if I'm too high in my pad level and I'm high, I can never break back downhill. So once the receiver's cleared 15, well, I know he's running a go after that. But as long as he's within that 15-yard low zone, I want to have my shoulders down and my knees bent so I can react. It's a good job of our corner here, weaving inside, and now the ball gets there. He does a great job of hooking through the upfield arm right here, getting in the cookie jar and getting the ball out, right? I tell guys all the time, why would I go from being in a dominant position to ending up underneath that receiver, right? If this receiver was to put both his arms out, it's harder to make a one-hand grab with this inside arm than it is with this arm that's closest to me. So we're trying to hook through the upfield arm right here. He does a great job of getting in that cookie jar and getting the ball out. Really good rep right here by him. So here's another piece of the drill, right? We talked about drive, which we just saw in the one-on-one rep. And now here's the second piece, the go. So this is one of our corners this past year. We were playing Rutgers. He does a really good job here. And you'll see from another angle of working to cut that wide receiver off. So right now, he's clearing quick game first from the quarterback. He snaps his eyes to the leverage hip, or the hip closest to me of the receiver. He's still a little bit low, ready to react in case that receiver breaks. You still see his front shoulder slightly down here, so he can react and break downhill if that receiver breaks. But once he's cleared that low zone, he does a really good job now of cutting that receiver off down the field. Now, he could do a little bit of a better job now of trying to really go and cut him off, because you've won the dominant position. You've established dominance in the rep. Go cut him off more and lean and find that, or look up and find that ball. Get your body on him. But he does a good job of here of cutting that receiver off. You can see him up top here, right? It's the same play, just the entirety of the play. He does a really good job here of going, fighting, and right now he's working to cut that wide receiver off, right? Get my shoulder closest to him, right on top of his shoulder, so that I break his stride. So that's a good job of him cutting that receiver off. That's the drill coming full circle. Another indie drill, staying on the topic of agilities, is what I call the dominant undercut. So a lot of times we don't understand, or we have to teach our players when the proper time to undercut the ball is. All right. If you undercut the ball too early, you create separation between you and the wide receiver. All right. I tell guys, if something's covered, if I put something on my head right now and it's touching my head, well, my head's covered. If I had a hat just floating over my head, why is it not covered? Because there's space and distance in between us. So I tell guys, we want to eliminate space. We want to do our job and do our best of eliminating space between us and the receiver. So this drill is what I call the dominant undercut drill. The DB is inside leverage right now. He's cleared quick game and he's simulating playing off man technique. So after he's cleared quick game, he's going to key the leverage hip, or the hip closest to him of that wide receiver. When that receiver's hips drop, we have to be able to drop. All right. And again, the receiver's dropping on the numbers. So either between 9 and 11 yards, he's dropping, which is, again, where most routes are going to break. We're practicing that muscle memory. Receiver's hips drop, my hips drop. Now I'm driving to the upfield shoulder of this receiver. Again, driving to the upfield shoulder puts me in a dominant position to secure the tackle, and it also helps me collision this receiver in case he runs a double move, which we know would come off of a 3-step route. Sometimes it does come off of a 5-step route. So great job by the DB here, driving to the upfield shoulder. Once you're in a dominant position for us is being able to touch that receiver without fully extending. Now I can go undercut the football, right? So again, hip drop, stop. I incorporate this with a lot of different movements. I might have a guy run vertical after, break inside on the dig, but right now we're working undercutting the ball. So great job by the DB here. His hips drop, my hips drop, drive to the upfield shoulder first, and then go undercut the ball, right? His hips drop, mine drop, drive to the upfield shoulder, then undercut. So here's a good look from this past season at Wagner, one of our corners here at the top, playing off man technique. He's keying the quarterback first for quick game. All right, he sees his play action. He snaps his eyes to the wide receiver. Okay, they kept running this play action. Cross country is what we called it, where the two receivers are running deep crossing climb routes. So he does a good job of weaving, staying inside. And he's on the top shoulder of the receiver before he goes and undercuts the ball. So right now, he's in a dominant position on the top shoulder of that receiver, right? I'm securing the tackle by doing that, and I'm eliminating this receiver from being able to get on top of me. Once he's secured the upfield shoulder, now he can go undercut the ball. He's using his inside arm because that's the longest arm, and he's clubbing the football on the way down, right? Not swiping at it, because if we swipe, we could miss. Club it and knock the ball down. It's a great rep by him. All right, here's another look of that dominant undercut drill coming to life. This is one of our corners here playing off man technique. So again, unless we're in the red zone or a short yardage situation or we're blitzing, I teach our guys to have our outside foot up with our inside foot back so we can get that first read step. And in case this guy stems inside, I'm not false stepping. I can step right inside with that inside foot and weave to maintain my leverage. So it's a great job of Deuce right here, clearing quick game. And now he's snapping his eyes to the leverage hip, or the hip closest to me. All right, he's still staying low because that receiver is in the 15-yard low zone. It's a really good job of him going and driving to the upfield shoulder and then undercutting the ball once he can touch the receiver. So if he went to undercut right now, distance gets created between him and the receiver, right? Drive to the upfield shoulder of that receiver, which in turn is the same as the leverage hip, and then go undercut the ball at the last minute. That's a really good rep by him right here. Now, getting a little bit into some contact drills, again, primarily speaking about block destruction and tackling. This drill is what I call the react and track drill. So these are our DBs here. The react is coming from a real game movement. So our guys, we don't want to just do drills to do drills. We want drills that are going to translate to a game situation. So our guys are working a transition, whatever transition we give them, the coaches or the indicators, we'll give them a transition. So right now they're working a fishtail to a back pedal, and then they're breaking. And as we're closing in on the donut, which is simulating the ball carrier, we're tracking that ball carrier's back hip. Okay. And we talk about finishing near foot, near shoulder. A lot of guys back in the day, the way, I grew up and I was taught how to tackle is get your head across. And all that caused for us was a lot of stingers and shoulder injuries. But it also allowed defenders offensive players to cut back on us, right? Because we're not tracking that back hip. So right now, these guys are just working a live in-game movement, and then they're tracking the back hip of those ball carriers right there, finishing near foot, near shoulder, run your feet on contact. Again, just something that really utilizes getting reps for our guys, and something that they'll actually do in a live game situation. And then getting into just some ball drills. So, of course, we want to take the ball away, right? Great defenses take the ball away from the offense. I always tell guys, and I'm not an advocate for violence, but what's the difference between a robbery and a theft, right? A theft is, I leave my watch here in the office, I leave and I come back and it's gone, right? A robbery is someone sees my watch and they snatch that watch off me. That watch is mine. So that's the mindset that we want to instill in our guys, that we instill in our DBs, is that robbery mindset. We take what we want from guys. We're taking the ball away from the offense. So, we work a lot of deep ball drills. This drill is pretty unique for me. I actually got this from a mentor of mine some years back. I call it the force catch. So right now, both of the DBs are going to be facing each other, and they're going to be pushing the force into one another right now. Okay. the DB that's facing in the field right here, he's the one that's going to be catching the ball. This DB facing to the bleachers is creating the resistance for him. So all they're doing is putting force into one another. And when I say go or use a whistle, the inside DB is going to release his force to try to get this DB off balance. All right. The reason this drill, I believe, translates to a live game situation is because, again, as a DB, the quarterback is not throwing us the ball. So a lot of times when we make interceptions or we create takeaways, we're just coming out of a break, or you might have just, keyed somebody in your zone and then you get your eyes somewhere else. You might have defeated a block and then the ball comes to you, what have you, right? So a lot of times we're not necessarily just expecting the ball to show up. So it's us coming out of a break or out of a different type of movement, moving through traffic. So this is something to just get us catching the ball, looking the ball in and squeezing it after being off balance. Again, just putting the force into one another right here, and then creating that DB, a little bit of off balance movement and looking the ball in the entire way. Squeeze the ball, catch the ball. Again, good job right here. This is just something that I believe translates with our guys. So just diving into some of the coverages now. So again, the 3-3-5 is something that I'm a huge fan of. A lot of teams are doing it. Some teams based out of a true 3 high structure. Some teams based out of a 1 high structure. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the coverages that we run. The first one we're going to talk about is stack 4. So the first part of the call, stack is telling us how our front structure is going to align. Okay, so stack for us is 5-0-5 on the D line, and our linebackers are going to line up in 50-0-0-50. So stack is a secondary adjust defense for us. Okay, we want our guys on the back end to adjust with motion so that we could keep our linebackers in what we call the home position, right? We don't want these guys to get out of their alignments because then that'll mess our run fits up. So for us, stack equals gap fits for these guys. So the front is all working together right now. Okay, each linebacker is working with the defensive lineman in front of him. So the Mike is working with the nose, the Sam's working with the end, the Will's working with the end. And what it does is it creates natural exchanges. So what I mean by exchanges, the DN will do what we call a fist technique and end up in the B gap, which spills the ball out wider, and it allows this linebacker to just fall out right there on the exchange. So this is just a good look at this. On the back end, we're playing 4, which for us, any numbers equals a quarters coverage. So stack 4 tell us that we're playing quarters. And one big thing with us that our defensive coordinator, Coach Swanson, has instilled, and I've learned it back from Coach Nardo as well, is create chaos with consistency. So on the back end, if we're in stack, we want everything to look the same, whether we're playing a cover 3, whether we're playing a trap coverage, whether we're blitzing, running a fire zone, man free, quarters. We're going to align the same. And then after the snap, we're going to make this quarterback have to figure out what we're doing on the back end. So right now, we have 3 speed receivers. This is what we call trips open. So versus 3 speed, we're playing what a lot of quarters teams play, and we're playing a mini game right now. So mini game is telling us the corners, wiping number 1. He's man-to-man on number 1. Our field safety and our rover in this picture are both keying the number 3 receiver. All right, so if the number 3 receiver is out within 4 steps, okay,
Hey, coach, you're muted.
can you hear me now?
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So right now, again, what we're playing to the top is special, which is a mini game for us. So the corner is man on number 1. Our field safety and our rover are both keying the number 3 receiver. If number 3 is out within 4 steps, the down safety will take him, and then the rover in this picture has to open up in man number 2. The beautiful thing about a 3-high safety defense is, again, we have 5 DBs. So we have an extra DB who will show up in the run fit, but also is able to help us in push into the post or help in bracket on any intermediate route. So in this picture right now, these 3 guys are responsible for these 3 guys. To the boundary right here, our corner is playing what we call solo. And solo is exactly what it sounds like, right? You're getting paid to go and cover guys. You got to be able to cover guys, eliminate explosive throws. So this corner is on his own right now, unless the receiver runs an immediate under because it's a quarters coverage. And our boundary safety in this picture is doing what we call push to the post. So this is a benefit of a 3-high safety defense. You get an extra defender to help defend the area of the field that hurts us the most in middle of the field open coverages, which is posts, right? Quarters coverages. He can help us push to the post, or he can help bracket any intermediate routes. So in this picture right here, this corner does a really good job of understanding his divider rules, and that's why he's on the outside shoulder of this receiver playing outside leverage, right? The ball's in the middle of the field. He knows that if the ball's in the middle of the field, a normal split for this receiver is the bottom of the numbers, or at least on the numbers. He's way inside where he would normally align, which is going to put me outside leverage on his outside shoulder here. So as we see this, it's a really good job of this corner putting himself in position to make a play based off his divider. And again, for me, the divide rules are so important, because if you don't put yourself in the best position to succeed, it's hard to make a play, even if you do everything right from a technical standpoint. So great job by him going and making a play. The guys at the top are playing special. Good job of the rover here, driving to hit the upfield shoulder of his man. All right, this safety doesn't have to slough off as much as he's doing. He can tighten up a little bit because we're in the red zone, but it's a good job of him cutting his guy because he's running an immediate under. All right, and what we tell our guys when we're playing quarters coverage is we tell them to shuffle secure, meaning if your guy is running under, okay, the number one thing teams do to attack quarters defense is run that climb route where they try to get under the linebacker and then take it back vertical. Well, we have a safety that's free here that'll be able to help pick that route up, but we want to secure that long to make sure that he's not running up the field. So shuffle secure means secure it to make sure he's truly under. All right, how do we know he's under? When I tell guys to determine whether a receiver's under or not, if his shoulders are perpendicular to me and I can't see any of his numbers, he's not climbing upfield, right? If he's looking like he's going under, but I could still see one of those numbers, or I could still see part of the front of his chest, I got to really secure him, make sure he's not doing this and climbing up the field. So good job of him shuffle securing. And then in this picture, our boundary safety, he's looking for work. So especially if we're downfield, we want this guy to push to the post, because again, a quarters coverage, you're not expecting to have post help. Well, this helps us get that window closed up a little bit. We're not crowning the defense entirely, but it helps us close that window up and provide some support. So just a good job overall of these guys being on the same page right here. All right, this next one is what we call stack howl. So for us, howl is a 5-man pressure. It's a zone pressure. We're playing quarters coverage behind it, but we're sending 5. So obviously with this, knowing the situation is crucial. This is something that we'll probably call in a short yardage situation, 3rd down. And again, it just goes back to that philosophy as far as defensive backs, knowing the situation, right? Knowing the coverage. So it's a 3rd down situation now. We're running a drive coverage, which is zone pressure for us, quarters, what we're blitzing. So what are we expecting? We're expecting the ball to come out fast. So to the 3 receiver side here, our 3 speed side, they're still playing special, but with a drive mentality. So for us, drive mentality means we're taking these receivers even if they run an immediate under, because we're losing 2 linebackers underneath due to the fact that they're blitzing. So essentially it's man coverage with the ability to still exchange routes, playing mini games and playing two reads. So to the 3 speed side right here, they're playing special corners, man on one. These two guys are both keying number 3 to see if he's out within 4 steps, and they'll exchange him. If he's not out within 4 steps and they're both vertical, these guys are both man to man on their guys. Some people say mod, which means man on deep. We just say man to man in our drive coverage, or we say man on less in our quarters coverage. So now they come out in slot trips here, which for us, again, is a nub tight end on the backside. How we identify tight ends in our stack 4 defense is we use toy terms. So we talk about buddies, we talk about yo-yos. Right now, this tight end is on the ball, so the boundary corner and the boundary safety are playing what we call a buddy on that tight end, right? I can't be a buddy all by myself. My buddy means I have somebody else with me. So both of these guys are responsible for this tight end. All right. In the run game, if this tight end fan blocks, the corner is responsible for setting the edge right now. The safety has to fit inside of that tight end. All right. If he down blocks, the corner again is fitting off of his unblocked hip. The safety is just securing to make sure that he's not truly climbing up the field, and then he's going to show up and become extra. Now, in the pass game, the corner and the safety are basically double teaming this tight end. Now, if this tight end runs an out right now, the corner is going to take him. The safety should be looking for work front side for any intermediate route, or he's pushing to the post. Again, a benefit of running a 3-high safety defense in quarters. If this guy's vertical, we always tell our DBs, it's a sports car versus a minivan. So we're expecting our guys to be able to cover tight ends. You know, there are some dynamic tight ends in the game. A lot of teams offensively are using those guys to create matchups. If you're a DB and you're playing against a tight end, you better be able to cover that tight end. So if this guy's vertical, the corner will be in his low hip. The safety will end up helping him. But if this guy runs across the formation on an over route, the safety will end up taking him. The corner's free, looking for work. We all say work comes from the inside. So right now, just a really good job of these guys knowing the situation. They're playing howl, so it's a 5-man pressure for us. Our Sam linebacker in this picture and our Mike linebacker are both blitzing. Okay, so these guys know the ball's going to be coming out hot. This is a really good job of these guys being flat-footed right here, and this rover driving this route to make a play. So again, he's at about 10, 11 yards. He could be a little bit tighter to the line of scrimmage, but again, we don't want to show our hand entirely. It's a great job of him knowing the situation, playing flat foot here and triggering on that quick game throw by the quarterback to make a play. So covering a lot of ground here. And again, situation is so important. You know, you can't play this the way you would on a normal down and distance in a normal quarters coverage. Know the situation, know the given coverage. Great job here. All right, so here's another picture at stack 4 for us. So again, stack 4 is a quarters coverage. We're playing 2 read on both sides right here. So we got to do a better job of getting lined up right here to the field. But we're playing 2 read. So again, the safety in this picture in the corner are both keying the number 2 receiver. And if he's out within 4 steps, the corner is going to take him. Now, there are times where we don't exchange it, and usually that's if we're in the red zone, a short yardage situation, or if it's a super wide split between number 1 and number 2, and the safety says, I can't get to number 1 if 2 is out within 4 steps because he's so far away. So we'll just lock on those 2 guys. And then in this picture, our Sam linebacker and our Will linebacker are what we call relate to 2 players. So they're both keying number 3. Relate to 2 means I have to stay inside of number 2 unless number 3 brings me out to the flat. So that helps us to be able to get these guys into those hook windows and help pack those windows a bit. But it also allows us to control number 3 and not get out leveraged by him by keeping these guys in the fit. Up top, these guys are also playing 2 read, but this is something that's really great about it. We're playing it from a press alignment now. So again, guys see press, they might assume that we're playing man-to-man. In actuality, this corner is still keying number 2, and they're still playing 2 reads. So if 2's out within 4 steps, the corner will settle and then trigger on the quarterback's throw. And it helps us in a lot of ways, because when we're playing 2 read from a press alignment, it helps slow down the number 1 receiver in case 2 is out within 4 steps, which makes it easier for our safety. But also, if number 2 is away, so under now or vertical, the corner has number 1 man-to-man. It helps us tighten up our coverage on number 1, right? There's nothing worse in 2 read, and every team plays it really in America. There's nothing worse than keying number 2 and number 1 is climbing on you fast as a corner. So this also helps us with that. And then again, in this picture, our rover is doing what we call push to the post. So he's either looking to take away that post throw and help with the safety or corner, or work flat and intermediate on any of those routes to help bracket something up on the inside. So this is just a really good job up top of these guys playing 2 read palms. Our corner is trying to fight to stay on the outside shoulder of that receiver. Keying number 2 right here. 2 is out within 4 steps. Great job of that corner going up, making a play right there to break the ball up. Right, he does a good job. He's settling right here. All right, he sees the quarterback letting his arm off the ball, so he knows the ball's coming now. But we don't want to just teach this guy to trigger now, because then we open up the whole shot, which might make it difficult for that safety. Now, it's a little bit different, right? Situation, he's to the boundary, so there's not as much ground for this safety to cover as opposed to the field. But again, we want to execute with great technique here. So good job by this corner settling and not just triggering to help hold off that whole shot and potentially being able to sink, and then driving on that out of number 2 and triggering that. It's a really good job by him. All right, next we're going to get into even 6. So again, this is a numbers court coverage, so that equals quarters for us. So even 6 for us is a linebacker adjust defense. So we're still in a 5-0-5 on the line, but our linebackers will be in a 30-30 and an overhang to the pass strength. So our linebackers are going to do what we call bow. So now that they adjust on the motion, we keep our shell on the back end. Even 6 for us tells us we're in a 3-4 structure. So 3 D linemen. We only have 3 linebackers here. One of these weak side DBs is going to become this 4th linebacker here. So for us versus 2 speed here, we're still going to play palms, but now to the boundary, the safety is either going to make a cut or a sky call. Cut begins with the C. The corners playing that trap corner basically to the 1 speed side. He's becoming a 4th linebacker. Cut tells him he's responsible for fitting inside of 1, and he has the first threat to the flat. The safety has to cover 1 man-to-man unless he runs under. Sky tells the safety he's down, fitting inside of 1. He has the first inside threat to the flat, and the corner's playing man unless on number 1. All right, right now in this picture, our rover is playing what we call a stallion on this tight end. So in our even 6, we identify tight ends by horses. Right now, he's off the ball. He's a stallion. All right. So the rover and our Sam linebacker in this picture are both responsible for him. Right. His job is relate to 2. So he can't get out leveraged by number 3. Here's number 3. If number 3 runs across the formation, he's responsible for him. He has to force the ball, or what we call box it. And now the rover has to fit inside of that. But in the pass game, the rover's tracking this tight end. So if he runs vertical, the rover's got him. If he leaks across the formation and tries to climb up, we'll end up getting a double team with the Sam underneath and the rover over the top. So this is a really good job up top by our corner, triggering right now. And, we want him to stay up. But again, near foot, near shoulder, he's getting run to him. So we expect the ball to come to us fast. It's a great job of him triggering right there, keeping the ball on his inside shoulder. Right? We want that guy to be shot out of a cannon. It should look like a corner blitz versus the run. Right? Knowing the leverage of the back is very important for our guys. So right here, we're running even 6 again as well. All right. So to the boundary, they're going to run cut. They're making a cut call, telling the corner he has to fit inside of 1. The running back is away from him right now. So we're expecting run to us. So this guy needs to be shot out of a cannon. If the running back was to him, we're expecting run away. Run away equals stay. He's waiting to play the quarterback in the zone read. But right now, great job of him triggering, getting inside of one right here, expecting the run right now. He's in good position. Safety getting his eyes to number one. He's playing him man-to-man unless he's under. And to the fit up top, there's a good job of our corner understanding in two read, right? Number two is under now or away. You're man on one. I tell the corners, you're anticipating in breaking routes. If you're the field corner, you're anticipating in breaking routes. All right. It's hard for a quarterback to complete an out breaking route on air to the number one receiver, let alone with a defender there. So we're anticipating in breaking routes right here. Good job of him. He needs to go claim that number one. All right, another picture versus trips open here. So again, to the boundary, he's making a cut call, telling the corner he fits inside of one. All right, to the field, the benefit of this is we can get 4/3, right? We have our Sam linebacker who's already in an apex position. And now when this guy motions in with this in motion right now, the Z in motion, we'll just get to a box. So box for us tells us that the corner is low outside, the Sam is low inside. Rover high inside, field safety high outside. We just zone it up, let the routes distribute. Great job by the corner triggering here, finishing with the near foot, near shoulder tackle, keeping that ball on his left shoulder. Great job right here. It's just a change up, an emotion adjustment that we can make. All right, now stack Raider. For us, NFL teams equals cover three. So the corner is going to get one of three calls from the safety, a sight, slam, or switch call. Sight and slam tells the corner he's playing the curl flat. He has to fit inside of one, and the safety's outside third player. And a switch call tells the corner he's playing outside third. Safety fits inside of one, playing the curl flat. So again, this is where the pass zones are so important, right? It doesn't matter who's playing what zone. You have landmarks for your zone. If you're an outside third player, splitting the field into thirds is 18 yards from in this third, 18 yards in this third, 18 yards here. So what's a midpoint between 18 yards? 9 yards. Top of the numbers is 9 yards, right? So just midpoint in our zones and our areas. In this picture right now, our rover and our boundary safety are playing what we call a sling on this tight end. So if he stays front side, our rover will play the middle third, and our boundary safety will sky down right here, buzz down to the flat. If he slices across to make it a 3-by-1 formation, our rover is going to go to the hook curl, and our boundary safety is going to be on a string pushing to the middle third here. So this is a good job of those being on the same page here, right? Great job of that safety triggering down right here to the field. We always say it's hard for a receiver to block a missile shooting at him full speed. So we prefer switch calls to help our safety go set the edge now and free up the corner. It's a really good job of the corner, again, triggering, keeping the ball on his inside shoulder here, near foot, near shoulder. Right, another picture at Raider right here. They come out in twins open, a two-back formation. Again, these two guys, our rover and our boundary safety, are key in the fullback, and they're playing what we call a sling on that fullback. If he goes strong, he's going to drop down playing the hook curl. He'll push to the middle third. If he goes weak, he'll drop down and he'll push to the middle third. Right, our corner up top has two speed receivers. He has to get to a midpoint, which is the top of the numbers. And our boundary corner in this position is playing what we call a man third, just tightening up that zone. Great job of these two guys being on the string right here. All right, and then the last one I want to talk about here is even cowboy. So again, cowboy is an NFL team, so we're playing cover three, but it starts with the C. So we want our corners to be our curl flat players. So they're going to, again, get one of three calls, sight, slam, or switch. We want to be able to trigger with our eyes on the quarterback. We talk about zone eyes. So he's not rerouting the number one receiver. He's dropping inside and fits inside of number one. Both our safeties made sight calls, which tell them they're playing the outside third. So they're bursting to their landmark and then getting their hips back inside. Both corners are patiently settling or squatting into the curl flat areas with their eyes on the quarterback. Our rovers pushing to the middle third in this picture. again, it's similar to trap corners, but again, it's a 3 deep for us, which allows us to still have those zones on the back end covered up. So it's a great job of the corner here to the field. He's squeezing a little bit too much inside, but great job of him reading the quarterback right here, playing that curl flat, and going and breaking on the ball, making an interception here. And then this picture, we're playing cowboy. Again, they come out in trips open out of a bunch formation. So up top, the safety made a sight call telling the corner he's playing the curl flat. He's got the outside third. All right, in this picture right here, our rover is pushing to the middle third. Our boundary safeties in the outside third corners playing a sight technique, fitting inside of one, playing the curl flat. So it's a good job up here of our safety being on his landmark and breaking on the ball to make a pass breakup right here. All right, our corner could do a little bit of a better job of sinking here to force that quarterback to make an accurate throw. But again, if you look at this, all of our guys are in their zones or their areas of the field right now. Top of the numbers. He's cheating his zone a little bit because the quarterback's looking there. Over here, he's top of the numbers. So just a really good job on the back end of securing that and making sure the defense is crowned. And then just, to finish this out, I don't want to give our entire hand, show all of our cards, with our defensive coordinator just getting here. We do a lot in the back end. We get into some 4-down stuff and run some 4-2-5 quarters with our rover walk down as a nickel. We run some man free, a little bit of bracket coverage on the back end. We run some match coverage on the back end. So it just really allows us to be multiple back there. If any coaches want to talk to me more about some of the ways to disguise coverage on the back end, I'd love to chat more. Really thank you guys for the time here, and I appreciate it a lot, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
Great stuff, Coach. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.